real people doing real jobs. For us, it's very important that we keep it a little bit old school, punting and launching cues, and then yes, if we miss one cue one night, of course we have to work on that. But it's also something I can laugh about with the band if I miss a cue one night and the drummer sees, you missed that thing with the strobe, or you didn't hit the lights there. We can still laugh about it. We're not there where I get sent home.
Powerful, not necessarily loud, but massive sounding. And the biggest challenge is that they want the same on stage, so it's pretty loud up there. And when we have like dB regulation, like you have in Germany and Sweden and Holland, it can be a challenge to create that feeling for the audience when you have the B restrictions and a really loud band on stage. I remember the first solo gig I did with them in Holland, it was at a bar for 8 people. And now, we easily play for 8,000 every night. So, and back then we were just in a van with some guitars. And now we carry 9 truck production and, things change. The first tour where I ever took out a disc, it was a Digico D1 back then. And I have been a Digico guy ever since. Because in my opinion, it creates a perfectly flexible, workplace. It never tells me no, and that's what I like about it. But there's many great discs, You should just pick your choice, Pick the tool that is right for you, the hammer that feels right. And that's kind of what I've done. I use Digico and I use a lot of waves. That's kind of my things. My main tool is waves and then the Digico desk. The way I've run it now is I have one server with waves. It's running on the board, which I use I have all my drum compression is like a lot of SSL stuff. And all my effects is also waves running on the desk. And then I use the SoundGrid server together with the new DigiGrid. They have made a MADI card so you can insert on the desk. So I actually have 2 servers running different stuff. So the other one over here will be running my left, right, and my guitars and stuff like that. But it's also to get a bigger visual surface. So you don't only have one screen, you have several. And that's also why we're running a extra server with desk software, because then I can have more visuals going on with the channels without being on that screen on the desk. Well, I've always been on like the D&BJ series, that I love, and we did a couple of arena ones with it, which was cool and great, and I liked it. But then actually this spring, my PA supplier, GBA Soundco from Denmark, wanted me to try out this Coda rig, the LA12, and we did a small run in Denmark. I think it was 5 or 7 shows, and it really blew me away. The quality of it and the definition in it, and so it was really, I was turned on to it. All I want now is Coda. It is and also I have some really great system guys working the system and tuning it every day and making sure the coverage is equal and all that. It's been great. In my opinion, that's only my personal opinion. The reason why I used to use the J8 was because of the 12s, because I think the guitars sounds better on a 12. It's because it's a faster responding than the 15, and that's the same thing with this Coda LA12. that the low end of the rock guitar, in my opinion, is faster and sounds better than the 15. That's why I prefer the 12-in cabs. This is a left-right system with a downfill because we're very far apart, the left and right. So we have a V-rate downfill, and then we have flown subs on the back of the system to give a better sub coverage on the balconies and around. They're double 15s, and then there's outer hang, which is also the LA12, and then we have the 4x18 on the floor to cover the floor of the venue with sub. And I think it works really well. We actually have a kick drum on the sides, which you normally won't have on an arena gig. You can feel it out there because of all the flown subs. Well, all microphones on stage is from Audiux. The vocal ones is the OM7, which we've used for many years, been really happy about. Drum miking is also Audiux. It has some D6s in the kicks and D2s and toms. And the inside, everything is inside. The toms, there's some D6 in the really low toms as well. We have one trigger on the kick. It's a mix between a trigger and a mic, but the trigger is there to make sure that we have that one kick that sounds perfect. And then I kind of blend in the mic to make it sound more like a drum. And then we have a lot of close miking. There's like, for every 2 cymbals, there's a mic, because the stage volume is so massive too. So to minimize, bleed from the guitar and the vocals into drum mics, everything is mic'd inside and really close mic'd. Guitars is all running on emulators like Palmer and JDX and stuff like that. There's no mics on the guitars. It's all DI boxes or speaker simulators to get it really, really close, tight sound. And you can compress it, and I can really start using like C6 plugins and max bass and stuff like that to shape the guitar into having a lot of tone without having any bleed from the vocals on stage or whatever else is going on the side fill. And that's actually mainly it. The bass is just line out of the TC amp. He's using the TC electronic amps, which sounds really good. It has like a tube emulator as well. So we try to keep everything as dry as possible, because there's so much other noise going on. So the drier we can get it, the better.
The special thing about this band is that we are very loud on stage. The guitars are very loud on stage. Drums are very loud as well. So keeping the vocals in the mix as well is probably the hardest part about mixing monitors for this band. Mainly it's running all the vocals into a XL42 mic preamp. Midas has something about the way that they do everything which suits in this band in particular. It's got something to do with the analog feel of everything, the analog feel of the EQ and the way the product adds harmonics that we can use to our advantage on the stage and on the vocals. And another fact is that I like to have the knobs by my hand, because I'll fine-tune a lot of stuff once the band goes on at night. From when we've done line check, I'll fine-tune Michael's vocal on here, so it's spot on when we get going at night. I run the microphone straight into the preamp. And then the output from the preamps and the EQ then run into my input rack at line level, and so all the gain is done over here. All the EQing, most of the EQing is done over here. I do a bit of EQ on the console, on the sends as well, obviously. Other than that, I do have a bit of I have an LM4 filter, Lake filter, or now it's owned by Labgruppen. Filter sitting inserted on the vocals digital as well. So we can notch out a bunch of frequencies that we don't want. And that so far that's been working really well. I use the SD7 console because I like the sound of Digico. I like the work surface really well. Digico has been really nice to us, and they've done a bunch of software that stuff we've been missing with the console. For instance, the docking option on the gate has been something I've been asking for a long time. Another thing is that we at some point talked about different EQ options between the classic and the percussion EQ. All the dynamic stuff as well, the multi-band compressors and the dynamic EQs as well has been something that we've talked about and worked on as well. Some of the matrix options as well, and other stuff. Yeah, having the availability to basically take all the inputs that you have in the console or routing wise through the matrix. So it's not only inputs, but it can also be an output that you take in on an input or whatever, an EQ or whatever, something that you want to patch into anywhere. Obviously sign language we use a lot, and with me being with the band for 5-6 years or something, I know all the small body language expressions, so it's not hard to tell when something's wrong. But other than that, we have a communication systems running from all the techs on stage. All the backliners, they have a talkback mic that is patched into my listen all the time, basically. My cue for my in-ears runs through the matrix, so that means I can add stuff to my cueing system after the cue. So that means no matter what I'm listening to on the board, I'd always hear the talkback vocals from the crew if they have alterations or something. Because obviously all the guitar changes happens on the other side of the stage, and the guitar backliner speaks a lot more with Michael and Rob, so he'll sometimes get cues for monitor stuff, so he'll belay that to me through the talkback system. I do also have radio communications in my ears. I can obviously turn that off if I don't want to listen to it, but it's just nice to hear from tour manager, band is walking to stage and stuff like that, so you know, okay, now it's just going to be a few seconds before we start the show. For obvious reasons, we've chosen the D&B M2 monitors for the stage because it's one of the only wedges that are able to produce the level stable that we run everything at on stage. It suits the microphones that we're using for vocal very well, which is Audiox OM7s, the whole thing about this is mixing around the guitars, because both guitar rigs are very loud on stage, and especially Michael's, which is probably at his vocal position around 114 to 120 dB coming out of his guitar rig, which is very loud. So topping that with a vocal or even just having a vocal at the same level is really hard, because distorted guitars have a lot of harmonics to them. So it's very hard to keep presence in the vocals in that area, because obviously the guitar will hit his face, his chins, whatever, or straight into the mic and make it feedback basically around that area of 2.5 to 6 kilohertz maybe. So keeping that stable means that we position 3 wedges in the center just to give him that level that he needs, and then at the other vocal positions we keep 2 boxes there as well to keep everything at the level that he wants. Other than that, we have a flown side fill, which is a Coda V-Ray system, which we have a couple of subs flown on top of that and a couple of subs down on the stage floor. Just to give a nice even spread across the stage of a side fill mix. So that means that Rob and Michael, which are not using in-ears on stage, they have their own kind of sweet spots to go to, but when they're kind of in between, they'll hear what is coming from the side fill, and then they can kind of choose their sweet spots when they need to have that extra amount of whatever it is. Anders, the bass player, and John, the drummer, uses in-ears only. Obviously, they'll hear a lot of the wedges on stage as well, but they're mainly on in-ears. I mean, they get the physics, the physical aspect from the wedges and the side fills, obviously, but that's mostly Anders, because John is more in the back, where it's a bit more quiet. We've been using the Sennheisers for quite some time now. I'm very comfortable with this system. Obviously, Sennheiser has for a couple of years had a huge advantage with their products. It's basically been the best sounding system out there for a while. I know that Shure has stuff out now that is very good as well, but this has just been a familiar thing for the band as well. Belt pack wise, they get the same belt pack that they're used to. Obviously, at some point, a true diversity system would be preferable, because we see a hell of a lot more frequencies blocking our bands with digital television coming in. But I find this system very stable, and it's also able to put out a lot of output antenna-wise, and we can choose in between different gains, sending out signal to it. So in some countries you're not allowed to go over a certain amount of milliwatts sending out the radio transmitter signal, but in other countries, they're not, so they don't know what to do with it yet, or what it is, but they haven't made that hard restrictions on stuff yet. So, and that's also some of the countries where it's hardest to find enough bandwidth to fit all your in-ear systems. So sometimes boosting the output makes it a bit easier to overcompensate for some of the noise floor that we're dealing with. It's actually pretty easy in Germany compared to other European countries, because in Germany you apply for frequencies with the government. So they grant you you send in the paper documents, and they send it back and say, well, in this area you can use this, and this, and in this area you have to choose something else. We constantly monitor all the frequencies going on as well. We scan the whole range of frequencies that we use on the production constantly. My system tech, Chris, takes care of that, programs it every day, so I don't have to deal with it. So we have also all the guitars are wireless as well. We have a couple of radio mics. We have a banjo that's wireless as well. And the light guys have a wireless communication system as well running.
We actually have been on the road since February this year, so it's been a long one. We did 3 American tours, we did a summer tour, and then we also squeezed in a couple of European tours, so it's been a long year. All the year I've been using Kamsys Magic Q 100 with a wing. I've been using it for both club shows and festivals, and in America. It's starting to get out there, and I enjoy it very much because it reminds me of the old days where I used to do Verilights and Hog, and it's basically how I see it is it comes together in this one. It also have a powerful engine of media server, and you can do pixel mapping really well. And then the technology is right now that we actually have 2 desks running in front of house simultaneously. So if one breaks down or gets beer in it or something, then it's actually queuing the simultaneously with my main desk here, so I can switch right away without any delays on lights or anything. The brilliance of the desk is that you can actually punt and launch queues at the same time without getting lamps set to 0 and all that. You can actually get a flowing show also by punting, but launching your queue lists and stuff like that, and overriding stuff, coming back and setting speeds on your faders and stuff like that. So as soon as one realizes all this, it is actually an easy way to do, especially with Volbeat, which their way of playing, they are a rock and roll band. They want to maintain their rock and roll thing where they want to change the set list. They want to do what they want to do on stage. They don't want to be locked down to like a queue list where they can't move away and stuff like that. So it's been very important for them that I keep an open mind, I keep an open desk. And actually for this tour I got the set lists 6 days before the tour. So there's a lot of, you have to be on your toes to follow these guys. What I found with this desk is it's very easy to morph into a rig, changing your own show into their rig, and actually getting a good thing out of it very fast. So once I got the hang of that, and I must admit it was kind of scary in the beginning, going to Rock am Ring and going from maybe 16 moving lights for a show what you did at home, and then all of a sudden you have like 300 movers, and trying to grasp your mind about around that. But once you get hold of it, it's kind of a neat tool, and yeah, I have done it ever since. I've used it now for 5.5 years, I think, or something like that. So yeah, it's come a long way. It's awesome. Again, an old school look. You don't see LED screens. We are not carrying park hands though, because also we are in a time frame, so doing a 2-hour focus is not available here. So we are doing a lot of moving lights. We have various moving lights. The stage setup in itself is a church. It contains of a church and a brothel. And if you look at the on the booklet, you'll actually see the church and the cemetery in front of it. We also have a hangman's post where you'll actually see a skeleton hang with a noose. That's another thing we added pyro to this show, which is the extra element, and it looks really good for the whole thing. It's like when the fire is going, you see everything in a new dimension. And that was also another dimension-wise. We wanted to create a 3D look. So we have many layers on stage. We have the backline wall, which can be colored. Then you have the church or the brothel, which can be colored. And then all the way in the back, you have all the drapes that can be colored. So you get like 3D look. And when you move around in the hall, then you'll actually see a lot of details. But you'll also see the way the stages look which changes from where you're actually standing in the room, which is pretty neat, I think. And that was the idea. And also keeping it old school. On this one, I'm carrying quite a heavy package. I'm carrying 130 auras and 46 Max 3 washes and 27 Mach 3 air effects and 24 Sharpie, the 330 new one from Claypacky, and then 24 SGM X5 strobes. A lot of blinders. We're carrying cyber hoist moving trusses. We have, like I said before, a lot of pyro. We have flames, bangs, and kabukis, the whole 9 yards. So everything you need at a rock show. The spots why I picked the air effects, the Mach 3 air effects, is It's very, very bright. They took a lot of lenses out, so it's very, very bright. But why it's called an air effects is that you cannot, when you use gobos, it's not like if you hit a wall that you can sharpen the gobos all the way up. But when you see it, the beam in fog or in, then you get that gobo feeling. But it's very, very powerful. So you can bring less and have more output, basically. The watch light is more a tryout, the Mach 3. And I think it's okay. Haven't really found what I'm looking for in that all the way, but it is a nice watch light. It does what it's supposed to do. The Sharpie is, of course, everybody loves the Sharpie and also the original, but what I got tired of basically merging in out of rigs all summer is that you have a color wheel and not a color mixing system. So you have to alter all your parameters all the time. But this Sharpie is very fast. It can color mixes, and it's got a very good zoom in it. I think it goes to 6 degrees or something like that, and it can go really wide as well. So you can use it for multiple purposes, as I do now with crowd lights, but also as a beam. Then I just now tried out the SGM X5 strobe, which I found, now I find it very useful. I did try it early in the year and I was not impressed. The output compared to the Atomic was not near, I think, and but they did some work on it. They made a software change, and it seems really stable now, and I think the output is almost there, and I really enjoy working with that, and it works like an Atomic. So I'm not the things I did with an Atomic before I can still do, so I'm not changing my habits on strobing in that sense. Actually, it's one of the things that we talked about when I worked for King Diamond and did the tour last year with him. Was it was not allowed to be too technical, and it had to have that darkness and not too bright. But I think it's about how you mix it, and if you just go 100% on everything all the time, then yes, you will have a problem. And today now, where everything is motorized and dimmers are motorized and all that, of course you can still use power cans, but if you don't have the accessibility to that, yes, it is kind of an art to keep it old school, as you might say, and have that old school look. But that's also one of the reasons with King Diamond, but also here, that we decided not to use LED walls and stuff like that. If you don't have the right content and you don't feel, safe with it, or you think you have something to show that is on value, one shouldn't do it just to bring on a big rock show. So we decided not to do that, to keep it more old school and keep that out of it. But yes, it's a little bit more easy with Volbeat, even if it is rock and roll music. As I am punding a lot, you will also see the light guy's mistakes, which I always find today, where, for example, for Rammstein, which I am a huge fan of, but their show is time code, and I would never be able to do what they do, punding or launching cues, because it's time code show and everything is like very, very, very set. But that's their kind of music, and it looks really good. But for this, it would never work if it's too time code. It has to be more organic. It has to be more real people doing real jobs, if I can say it like that. Not disrespecting Rammstein or anything, but I mean it on a band thing here. So I think for us it's very important that we keep it a little bit old school, punting and launching cues, and then yes, if we miss one cue one night, of course we have to work on that. But it's also something I can laugh about with the band if I miss a cue one night and the drummer sees, you missed that thing with the strobe, or you didn't hit the light there. We can still laugh about it. We're not there where I get sent home. So so we have a lot of fun, and we laugh a lot about what's going on, and so that's good.